Imagine waking up alone in a crumbling world where the ground shifts under your feet and the rules of reality bend to your will, if only you can figure them out. Bionic Bay doesn't tell you where you are, who you are, or what you're supposed to do. It simply throws you into the void and dares you to survive. This isn't just another platformer. It's a haunting ballet of momentum and mystery, where every jump is a question and every fall might be your last. You'll swap places, with falling debris midair, freeze time to dance between spinning blades, and cling to collapsing rails that don't want to hold you, all while a silent, decaying world watches. Never speaking, but always suggesting something darker beneath the surface. You're not the hero here. You're just a fragile figure with floppy limbs and a flicker of hope, trying to navigate a universe that seems as broken as you feel. But somewhere in the physics-defying chaos, there's rhythm, a strange elegance, maybe even purpose. This is the kind of game that doesn't shout, it whispers. And if you lean in close enough, you might just hear something unforgettable. Bionic Bay plays like a lucid dream wrapped in cold steel, half precision, half intuition, and all about moment-to-moment feel. The first few minutes lull you into a quiet rhythm. Hop across platforms, observe your surroundings, feel the weight of your movements. And then, bang, out of nowhere, the game flips the script. Suddenly, you're freezing time mid-air to dodge a saw blade, swapping your body with a chunk of debris to land on a moving rail, and holding your breath as physics. Teeter on a razor's edge. What makes it special isn't just the mechanics, it's how they flow. Bionic Bay doesn't separate action and puzzles into neat boxes. It weaves them together. One moment, you're solving a puzzle with patience and timing. The next, you're dodging lasers with instinct and sheer muscle memory. But it never feels abrupt. It's a dance, the kind that pushes you forward with just enough pressure to keep your palms sweating and your brain ticking. The beauty lies in the friction, between calm and chaos, between control and uncertainty. Every system, from the tactile physics engine to the eerie ambient design, works in tandem to make you feel just slightly unready, always adapting. It's never just a level, it's a conversation between you, the world, and the physics that bind you both. At the heart of Bionic Bay lies its most hypnotic trick, the swap ability. It sounds simple. Tag an object, hit a button, and boom, you switch places with it. But in practice, it's like handing the player a tiny god power in a world that reacts to every move. The mechanic feels less like a tool and more like a challenge to your creativity. You're not just swapping to progress, you're experimenting, improvising, and sometimes failing spectacularly just to see what might work. Nearly anything in the environment can be targeted, from rolling boulders to small batteries to crumbling ledges. This flexibility encourages constant tinkering, rewarding players who think in terms of motion and momentum, not just solutions. You might swap into a mid-air rock to land on a high ledge, or into a freezing block just to use its icy residue, to freeze a path forward. And the best part? The world responds. Rails bend, platforms wobble, and lasers leave scorched trails in real time. It's backed by a physics engine that's as playful as it is punishing. Every surface, every object carries weight, texture, reaction. When your ragdoll-limbed character is blasted by a hazard, the animation doesn't just show failure, it celebrates it with grim slapstick flair. And in those absurd moments of chaos, something magical happens. You stop seeing puzzles and platforms and start seeing possibilities. What sets Bionic Bay apart isn't just how it blends platforming and puzzling, it's how it plays with your expectations of both. This game lives in the gray area between speed and stillness. One moment, you're threading the needle through a gauntlet of spinning saws, spamming your roll like a pixelated ninja. The next, you're dead silent, staring at a pile of objects, trying to figure out how to manipulate mass and momentum to bridge a seemingly impossible gap. It never lets you get too comfortable. If you're in a rhythm with fast-paced jumps and narrow escapes, Chances are a slow-burn puzzle is right around the corner, asking you to pause, analyze, and shift mental gears. But here's the kicker. It never stops being interactive. Even the puzzles feel physical, kinetic. You're dragging, dropping, stacking, swapping, and all of it bound by the same deliciously bendy physics. And yet, the platforming isn't just filler between brain teasers. It's sharp, responsive, and full of flair. The character moves with a certain floaty finesse, quick to turn, easy to adjust mid-air, and always ready to grab a ledge if you barely miss a jump. It's forgiving in design, but not in challenge. You will mess up. But that balance, that tension between thought and reflex, is where Bionic Bay finds its pulse. Bionic Bay doesn't tell its story with words. It whispers it through decay, through biomechanical ruins and flickering lights that pulse like they're breathing. From the very first frame, the world feels abandoned, but not dead. It hums, with a quiet energy like something still watching, somewhere just out of sight. There's no hand-holding, no lore dumps, just mood, atmosphere, and unsettling questions hanging in the air. Visually, the game is a pixel art fever dream. The environments are draped in grime and chrome, evoking a future where machines grew organic and nature never came back. Backgrounds shift subtly as you move forward, blurring the line between level and landscape. One moment you're passing, under twisted metal vines. The next, descending into tunnels that echo with mechanical groans. There's a handcrafted beauty here. Even when the textures repeat, they feel intentional, like echoes of a world too long forgotten. And then there's the sound, or rather, the lack of it. Bionic Bay leans into silence, using sparse soundscapes and creepy environmental FX to craft tension. Music comes in waves, sparingly, and that absence makes every note land harder. It's a minimalist design, but it leaves space for your imagination to wander, and sometimes that's more powerful than any cutscene. On the surface, Bionic Bay looks like a one-way trip, a linear dive through collapsing levels and shifting mechanics. But dig a little deeper, and you'll find that this game lives and breathes on replayability. It doesn't do it with collectibles or alternate endings. Instead, it embraces chaos, the kind born from a physics system that never quite behaves the same way twice. Every jump, every object swap, every weird momentum exploit creates tiny variations in how you approach puzzles or navigate obstacles. That unpredictability isn't a bug, it's the game's soul. You can brute force your way through a tricky section one run, and then discover a shortcut or cheese strategy the next. And if you're the kind of player who loves to break games wide open, Bionic Bay gives you just enough wiggle room to experiment without ever snapping in half. To channel that spirit, there's a dedicated time trial mode, complete with online leaderboards and seasonal rotations of hand-picked level segments. It's not just a bonus. It's a full-on invitation to master the movement, exploit the swap mechanic, and compete for those top spots. And thanks to fast loading and tight checkpointing, retrying doesn't feel like punishment. It feels like a dare, a challenge. One more run, just one more swap. Bionic Bay isn't a game that begs for your attention. It earns it through curiosity, creativity, and sheer mechanical elegance. It doesn't overwhelm with scale or spectacle. Instead, it offers a focused, deeply tactile experience that invites players to engage with its world on its terms. There's a purity to its design, a refusal to hold your hand, and in that silence, it speaks volumes. It's a platformer for people who love puzzles, and a puzzle game for people who crave precision. It rewards both careful thought and twitch, reflexes, often in the same breath. And even though its visual themes may repeat, and the lack of camera control or occasional environmental ambiguity can trip you up, none of it feels like a deal breaker. Instead, those flaws highlight how tightly the core systems are tuned, how deliberate each element feels. This is a game about figuring things out, about trusting your instincts in a place that doesn't explain itself. And when it all clicks, it delivers that rare aha moment that makes you feel like the smartest player alive. So here's the real question. What will you discover in Bionic Bay? Because beneath the strange physics and pixelated grime, there's a world begging to be explored, not with a map, but with your curiosity.